Alright, people, we're back again. This time, we're finishing up our amazing dodge rolling system. As you well know, in the last episode, we imported an animation from Mixamo and got it all set up so that when we run, we dodge, and when we jump, we are dodging instead of actually jumping. In this episode, we're going to make the dodge take stamina like swinging a sword does, as you can see. And we're going to make it so that when you're dodging, you're actually invincible for a couple of seconds. And we might do a couple of minor fixes as well. For instance, when we dodge and we attack, we dodge twice before doing the attack. So dodge, I attack, and then I dodge again. Or I guess I should say, I dodge, I click to attack, but then it does like a second dodge thing before before it attacks. And the other bug is that when we swing our sword over and over and we run out of stamina, we can keep swinging even when we only have like a fraction of the stamina left. So, no bueno, right? We're going to fix that today. All right. Starting off, invincibility frames for our animation. Once again, we're going to be playing around with animation events. So we're going to go to our animation that we made already, and I'm going to realize that I accidentally have made two animation folders. Really quick then, we're going to take these and slap them into that animation folder. And then we can delete that really fast. All right. So we come to our timed roll animation, the duplicated one, not the one that's in here. We pop it open, and we're going to add some events. We're going to add an event at the beginning, and we're going to add an event. Oh. Once again, I lied to you guys. I apologize. We don't actually go to this. This is not the one we want to go to. What we do want to go to is to our prefab for our character. We go to our character's prefab, click on the parent object or whatever object has the animator component, and then we go to the animation tab. And then from here, we click on this drop-down menu and go to our rolling animation. Now we can add some events. We need one here, and we need one at the end. We also have this stop rolling animation, which we are going to have to split up later, but we won't worry about that for now. Instead, we need to create a function for these two right here. To do this, we're going to go once again into our prefab. We're going to find the new third-person controller, or an equivalent script. Pop open Visual Studios of Doom, because of course it has to be of Doom. Once it's open, I like to scroll to the very bottom, and right next to the stop rolling event, we are going to make a new void. This will be public void iframes, or invincibility. Invincibility. T. Once we have that made, we're going to do something slightly different than what we did before with when we were doing the stamina stuff. Stamina drain, I mean. I apologize. We are going to do something different than what we did for the sword swinging when it would activate and deactivate the damage script. We had two separate voids. This time I'm going to show you a different method where we can have the same void in both of these events here, but in each event it will do the opposite. So all we have to do is we will create a bool. Actually, not here though. We're going to create the bool at the top. I'm going to add it to my bool section, and we can make it a private one. And this bool will be called is invince, meaning is invincible. And by default, we're going to set it to false. Now we come down here, invincibility, and we're going to say invin is invince is going to equal exclamation mark is invince. Now, the exclamation mark here reverses this bool. It makes it the inverse. So it starts out false, and then by setting it to its inverse, it becomes true. Then, what we're going to need to do is we're going to go and find the script that controls our health, because we don't want to be able to take damage when is invince is equal to true, which means we're going to come to our script that's called player health and stuff, which we made in an earlier video, and we're going to find our take damage function. And here we're going to say, we're just going to add a simple check. We're going to say if, one sec, if is invince is equal to false. And it's going to give us an error because is invince doesn't exist on this script yet. So all we need to do is come up to the top again, and we're going to remake our is invince variable. But this time we're going to set it as a public variable. That way we can change it from the other script. Invince. Oh, and this has to be a bool. Public bool is invince. And of course, we didn't spell it exactly right. So we'll just copy this one and replace the one we just made earlier. Or press Control C twice. Is invince. Copy down and paste. If is invince is equal to false, then we can basically take damage. Now, we're going to come up to our new third-person controller, which is where we have the invincibility void. And we're going to set, we're going to need a reference to our, what did we call it? Is_invince, the public is_invince that is located inside of the player health and stuff. Which means the new third-person controller will require a reference. Now, if we come up to the top, I like to put all of my scripts that I'm referencing in the very, very top. And I'm going to say player, health and stuff. And then I abbreviate it by just doing the first letters of every word within the script name. So PHAS, FAS. And then we go down into the start method. And once again, at the very top of the start method, we finish getting the reference. So FAS equals get component player health and stuff. Oop. Once that is complete, we can scroll all the way back down to the bottom, and we can say is_invince equals the opposite of is_invince, which we already put, and then we put down FAS. FAS dot is_invince is equal to is_invince. The right hand is_invince is the bool from this script, while the left hand is_invince is the one from the player health and stuff. And just to make it easier, I'm going to call the player health and stuff is_invince2. And then I'm going to have to go down and change the is_invince down in the player health and stuff script. And then in the new third-person controller, we simply have to change this to is_invince2. Now, I believe that should be all. We're going to let the scene finish loading, or the scripts finish loading. And then we're going to take the sword that we made earlier. It has our damage script attached to it, and if you don't know how to make one of those, you can go watch the previous video, which I guess I can link in the description below. So much work. Anyway, we're going to set it up right there and make sure that its collider is on and that we're going to take damage from running into it. And now we come down here, find our sword, walk into it normally, boom, we take 10 damage, but if we roll, we still take 10 damage. Oh, we have missed a step. And that is, we have to actually assign the event the new thing we just made. What was it called? The invincibility void. So we come back, navigate through your project to your prefab of your character. Then we go into the animation window, drop down, and find the trimmed roll animation. And these two events are the ones we're looking for. See how they have no function? We are going to have to fix that. Now we are looking for the invincibility function. Right there at the top. Nice. Come back. And it's right there at the top again. Now we should be able to once again test this out. And we run into the sword. We take 10 damage. Yep. Now if we dodge, No damage was taken. Pretty good, pretty good. Okay. Now we have a functional dodge roll. We dodge and we don't take any damage. Now what is next, you might be wondering? Well, we got our roll working, which means it's time to fix bugs. So if you remember, oh, and we have to make it take stamina. All right, let's do the stamina one. So all we have to really do here is, I believe, we already have a reference to player health and stuff, Phas. All we have to do is just tell it to take stamina damage. Void adjust, oh, not that one. Take stam damage, and it will take an integer for damage. Now we just go into our is invincibility thing, and we say if parentheses is invince is equal to true, which means we're actively rolling at this moment. Then we're going to say Phas dot take stam damage, and then for now we're going to hard code in 10. We may change this into a variable like roll cost, but for right now I'm just going to set it as 10. So we should be able to wait for this script to compile, hit play, and fall to our not deaths apparently. And whenever we dodge, boom, we lose stamina. Whenever we swing, okay. And the final thing. Oh, one more final thing. We have to be able to check. I guess there's two final things. When we are dodging, so when we start rolling, we need to make sure that we actually have enough stamina to roll. So navigate in your script to wherever it is that you created your dodge bool and set it to be true. And then go into the check above it, and all you have to do is say and Phas dot stam is greater than or equal to what? It's greater than or equal to 10. And the reason why we're choosing 10 is because down here we set the cost to 10. So at this point, it's more useful to set the stamina cost of rolling as an actual variable. So we can just come down here, make a public integer. Looks like I don't have an integer section, so we can just make one right here. Public integer roll cost. Roll cost. And for now, we're going to set it equal to 10. And let's find where we put it in. So roll cost. And we're going to replace the 10, all the 10s with roll cost. All the 10s that are related to taking stamina damage or draining stamina. Okay. Now, we also, I just realized, need to do that for when we're swinging our swords. So, but first, let's make sure that it's working for dodging. So we'll hit play. Fall to our doom. And spam dodge roll, like all good Dark Souls players do. And eventually, yep, we have to get enough stamina back to roll again. Okay, so that is working as it should. And now we are going to come back, and we're actually going to do a little bit of a fix for a previous episode. Going back into our prefab, we're going to find our main melee controller. And what we just did for dodging, making sure that there's enough stamina to actually dodge, we are going to do for our melee attacks, so that we have enough stamina to actually attack. Once again, we're going to make a public integer, and we'll call it attack stam cost. And then we're going to find our spot, the spot to put in the check. Where is it going to go? We are going to put it into, I think we should put it in this set array index. And I believe we already have a reference. Yes, we have a reference to Faz. So I'm going to put that at the top so I can easily find it again. We're going to go down to set array index. And the reason why I'm putting it here and why this is kind of a weird spot is because in my game there's just a weird ordering system. But basically, if you have like an attack void, then that's where you're going to want to put this particular check, this mechanism. And all we have to do is say if Faz dot stam is greater than or equal to, and I believe we called it attack stam cost, then we can do the rest of the script. So we'll just grab everything else and slap it in there. Okay, but we now have to kind of sub this in for where here it is. Down where we say faz.take stam damage, we're going to say attack stam cost. And I believe that is all we're going to have to do. I'm going to set this equal to 10 again at the top. And we now can come back into our game, hit play, and start draining our stamina to see if the check we just made actually works in the spot that I just put it. Alright, it is working as intended. Oakley dokley. What does that mean now? It means that we're on to the final thing, which is when we are dodging, and then we attack mid-dodge. Oh, we don't have enough stamina to show the glitch, but when we dodge and attack while we're mid-dodge, or we try to attack mid-dodge, the game will automatically make you dodge twice and then attack, which is no bueno. And I believe all we're going to have to do is come back into our animation, go to trimmed roll, and this is the culprit for that happening. We have this stop rolling function. And what we're going to do is we're in a bit of a predicament. So if we go to the stop rolling function, which is in our new third-person controller, and we go down to it, we will see that it has two parts. It sets the jump to be false, and it sets the animation to be false. What we want to do is we want this animation to be set false near the beginning, because that's how we have it with our other like attack things, our attacking events. So for instance, we have begin damage and end damage, which are in charge of damage, but at the very beginning of like this slashing animation, we have an event that returns it to idle, which basically sets the attack number back to 0, back to 0 or something less than 1, which then returns this to default, which is an empty animation. So we want the animation basically to return to default as soon as possible, which is why we put that in the very beginning. But we can't just simply move the animation event from the beginning, or from the end to the beginning, because the animation event also is controlling this, and this needs to be going until the end, otherwise we won't move while we're dodging. So I believe all we need to do is just move this particular line of code that sets the actual animation dodging to false into the invincibility code. Yes, because this will only be called once is invincible is actually set to true. And so once it's true, then it can be set to false. And this will continue to allow the player to move even when they are dodging. Now we test it. So dodge and attack. And what the heck? Dodge, attack. Huh. Okay, that made it worse, apparently. Sadness. All right. What to do? What to do? What to do? Something. Let's see what's happening. So we're going to exit out of our prefab, and we're going to go to the collider change object, which is actually the character. And we're going to go to the animator, check out the parameters, and we're going to see how dodge works. I'm going to see what's happening. So we're running and we dodge. Huh. So now, let's see. Very unusual. Back into the script we go. Okay, so we saw there, you might not have seen it because I know the recording is sometimes slower and laggier than what I see, but basically the dodge does turn off, but then it immediately turns back on, which was the same problem we were having in the last episode. And the solution to that was to set ni jump equal to false before we set the animation to false. So what we might do actually, I just realized, is we're going to put this back. And then we're going to go find the thing that controls what pushes the character forward, when we're dodging, which should be somewhere. We're going to have to find wherever we put that. Not going to be in the fixed update. It's going to be in the movement section. Here it is. Okay. And basically, it's saying if ni jump is equal to true and the timeout is equal to true, then it will continue to push us forward. Now, I believe there's a couple of things we can do here. I believe we can just say, we can add to it. We can use the and is invince is equal to true. So that means it'll only push us forward during or between these two animation events right here. So let's give that a try. Oh. And we forgot to do one thing, but we forgot to do one thing. So you might be wondering why we just did that. And the reason is because if we go back into our prefabs and navigate to our collider change, which is our character, and we run into our trimmed roll animation, now what that allows us to do is take the stop rolling event and safely move it to the beginning. Actually, it doesn't. All we have to do is delete that, because that wouldn't work, what I was just planning on doing, because this also requires ni jump to be true, and we just moved that to the very beginning. But all we really need to do is call this piece of code when is invincible is true, which means all we have to do is say if is invincible is equal to true. Then we do our movement piece of code. Click save, and let's give that a try. fall to our doom. Dodge. Okay, we're still moving. What just happened there? Okay. We do slide a little bit when we're attacking, but I'm not going to worry about that in this episode. But check it out. We dodge, attack, come out attacking, which is exactly what we want. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, that is the end of this video. If you found it helpful, subscribe, and if you didn't, then I guess you can not subscribe. Goodbye.